In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines on K98.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
Live from the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli, Russ Gallo here on a Tuesday night, our new night here on We're America Radio. Russ, how you doing, pal?
What's going on, man?
Well, there's a lot going on right now. We got Game 1 of the World Series going on as we are taping this show.
Is Mickey Mantle ever going to pay your rent,
Oh,
kid?
come on.
I've never seen grown adults act like this.
Really?
Watching millionaires throw around the ball in the rain like a bunch of little kids. And everyone's stuck watching like it's some big deal.
Well, listen, Russ, we got a great show lined up right now. We got a great interview with Roger Stone coming up. I know you're not into the sports, but you got to be into Roger Stone, right?
I don't know. His name sounds familiar. Should I know this guy? I'm just kidding. He was on the Trump campaign. I didn't get a chance to listen to the interview yet, Gene, and I'm curious. Did you ask him any questions about the breakup there?
Actually, Russ, I did. I asked him about his relationship with Trump, and he actually volunteered that information. We'll get into that, but let me tell you something. He's got some choice words for Hillary right now like you wouldn't believe, man. I mean, he didn't use foul language, but he used some language that I did not expect to hear from a political consultant with so many years of experience. I mean, this is a guy that worked with Nixon. This is a guy that obviously worked with Trump. He's been around for 40 years. And by the way, folks, if you've been around in politics for 40 years, you not only know where all the bodies are buried, you know actually who buried them and what else they got in their closet as well. You're not around as long as Roger Stone without knowing what toes to step on or not. He's going to be talking about his new book, The Clintons' War on Women, which is available where finer books are sold, including on Amazon.com. It's going to be a great interview. But before we get to that, Russ, as the book is about Hillary Clinton, let's talk about what happened last week with these hearings in Washington with Trey Gowdy and Elijah Cummings, that rat, at the Benghazi hearings.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much new popped out of those hearings. I watched a few of them. I found myself watching it live on C-SPAN, which, you know, after a few minutes of it, I started to question my own sanity. But nothing really new, Gene, I gotta say. Hillary, she basically admitted, but didn't admit, that she knew it was a terrorist attack, which we all knew. She emailed Chelsea that it was a terrorist attack, along with the leadership in Libya and other countries, Egypt, I believe. But then on the very next day, out of the next side of her mouth, she said it was still about that video. By the way, this guy who made that YouTube video, I'm trying to find information on him, but I'm wondering, is this guy still in jail for some parole violation? He's the only guy who ever really paid a price for the attacks in Benghazi.
You know what? That's actually a great point. Nobody knows where this guy is, right? Listen, I mean, Hillary got caught in a lie, but isn't she one of the most professional, proficient, one of the greatest liars of all time? I mean, the faces that she was making that you can make a million memes of, that is the face that launched a million memes. And it's unreal. She sat there, she lied and smiled and lied some more.
Can I say something, Gene? I'm sick and tired of the Benghazi. I'm sick and tired. That was a terrible Bernie Sanders.
That was a Bernie Sanders impression. That was great. That wasn't bad. That was really good.
I'm actually getting tired of it, to be honest, though.
I'm not. I'm absolutely not.
Here's my question to you, Gene. And I know at the risk of sounding like a rhino, and I know we have some rhinos in the chat room tonight.
We know who you are.
What is the end game for the Benghazi hearing? What makes them go gotcha? Like, what is the end game? What's the end game for the Republicans?
Well,
with this?
what was the end game for the 9/11 Commission? The end game was to get to the bottom of what happened, to make improvements going forward, to ensure that it never happens again.
So, who's denying what happened now? Do we all agree that it wasn't the video, it was a terrorist attack? So, what more needs to be? I don't get.
You know who's denying what happened? Elijah Cummings. That's who's denying what happened. He's making this out to be this giant witch hunt. Listen, Trey Gowdy, in my opinion, is doing the work that should have been done already here. Many, many months ago, a commission should have been set up by the executive branch to get to, okay, what went wrong, how did it go wrong, and how can we never let this happen again? But there is no transparency the way that there was in the Bush administration when they set up the 9/11 Commission. I'm sorry, did I just compare transparency between Obama and Bush? I'm going to get the rhinos after me on that one. Not for nothing, folks. These hearings have utility. They have utility for the executive branch. They have utility to show a lack of leadership. I don't want to get all Kevin McCarthy on everybody, but yeah, let's examine Hillary Clinton's role in this, because you may not want this person to be your next president.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I just don't get, what action, what hard steps are going to be taken from all this. Listen, do I think that lots of things went wrong in Benghazi and we have to figure out what, I'm not going to go as far as Hillary Clinton, what difference does it make at this point? Obviously, it makes a difference, but I just don't see, after months and, basically years now of investigating this, what is the end goal? I don't see the goal here. What reforms? What are we doing? Is there going to be a new way we deploy ambassadors? A new way we decide on security? I think that if that is the goal, then the Republicans need to do a better job. As always, our public relations suck. The American people don't know what we're watching. All they know is what McCarthy's dumbass said. And that's basically a guy who's in the know like me is starting to believe it too. I don't see what the end state is.
I think the end state, there's a political end. I think we can't deny that there's a political end here. There's a political end here, but I think there's also a governmental end here and a regulatory end here. And that is, listen to your intelligence and listen to the people on the ground that actually are there living it. I mean, there was lots of discussion about Hillary Clinton's State Department wanting to push the issue in Libya, wanted to establish their foothold there after the Arab Spring, after all this time passes by. all these emails that the commission was showing before the embassy was set up there, and then nothing afterwards. That's kind of the point. It's not about getting the foothold. It's about maintaining it the right way. I think the Benghazi hearings, they should at least have some sort of utility about security, about diplomatic relations in hostile territories. It's got to be there. I noticed, Russ, while I'm talking, you're looking at the chat room right now. By the way, folks, during our live shows here, we have a live chat going on our Listen Live page at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. Click on Listen Live. You got the chat room there set up for you as soon as you walk in the door. And we use the chat room. We steal stuff. Wait, no. We borrow stuff. We don't steal. Stealing would be bad. We borrow stuff from the chat room. We sometimes give credit to those who deserve it. Sometimes we don't, but whatever. You guys know how that works. Come into the chat and hang out with us. What's going on in the chat right now, Russ?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of people accusing me of regurgitating Hillary Clinton talking points. Let me tell you why.
Wow, are they coming after you now?
That's a total low blow.
They're trying to put a rhino horn on you, Russ.
Let me tell you why a guy like Donald Trump is so popular. And regardless of what the last national poll of 300 people said, Donald Trump is still crushing the competition in the Republican Party. Let me tell you why a guy like this is so popular. The Republican Party is all talk and no action.
Oh, wait. Russ is going on a rant, so hang on. There we go.
All talk, no action. Benghazi hearings. What is this? I don't care. You can call me a rhino. What is this? What action is going to be had? And even if the Republicans say they're going to do something, who will believe them? What have they done lately?
We're going to get to what they've done and what they haven't done in a second, right towards the end of the show after our interview with Roger Stone. But Russ, don't we owe it to those who died in Benghazi to find out everything that went wrong and correct it?
Yes, but you could use that argument with anything. I'm not downplaying the deaths in Benghazi. But, a soldier died in Iraq the other day, freeing hostages or detainees being held by ISIS. So where do we draw the line? I want to know how that soldier died and what the circumstances were and what we could have done better. Of course we should investigate it. But what is the end state? What will change? Will the Republicans withhold funding for anything? Will they withhold State Department funding? Will they fund State Department security in greater amounts? Will they deploy more assets or fund money to deploy more assets in the Middle East for quicker responses to embassy attacks? Like, what is the end game? There's still nobody can tell me this.
Well, we do need an after-action review. Let's agree on that. And I think the end game is, I think you hit on it, there has to be better response from the centralized State Department to their embassies when they bring in serious and credible security issues. There has to be greater responsiveness of, if someone's in the field saying something, rely on that. Don't rely on your own reports that you're getting from the Libya desk. You know what I mean? And make sure you have funds accessible and ready to deploy to that area upon such notice.
For those of you who haven't been in New York City, especially in the bad old days, but it's still around. You walk
bad
around.
old days, they're back. What are you talking
They're back.
about?
Mayor de Blasio's a great guy. We got 3-Card Monty and the Shell games out there. If
Almost on every train car.
You ever played 3-Card Monty? For those of you guys not familiar, it's it's a scam. They usually get tourists with this game.
Follow the Queen.
Follow the Queen, and they're going around and around. It's impossible to win.
I don't know why you call that a scam, Russ. I made at least $100 on that last week at Times Square.
Yeah, but you were the dealer. So it's impossible to win, and your eyes follow what the dealer wants you to follow, whether it's the P in the shell or the Queen with the cards, right? The 3-Card Monty. The Clintons are the 3-Card Monty dealers. They are the best, and the Republicans are the tourists who are losing all their money. The Clintons. They get you to focus, and these are for my dumb Republican friends out there. They get you to focus on the scandals, and I'm making air quotes, that they want you to follow, that are irrelevant in the long run. They get very low mileage from the general public, and you don't believe me, like Monica Lewinsky. Bill Clinton was probably guilty of murder and rape, 2 of the highest felonies in the land, and yet we're going after whether or not he had sex with an intern and then lied about it under oath in a deposition. Like, that shows you Bill Clinton mastered the art of, look here, don't pay attention to what I'm doing behind the curtain. literally in some senses. But Hillary is doing it now. Her emails, which is the real scandal here, where she probably should, well, not probably, she should be indicted. I hope probably so.
In a bathroom in Colorado.
A bathroom in Colorado, private server, conducting official business, private business, raising funds for the Clinton Foundation, doing all kinds of stuff, deleted the emails when they were subpoenaed by Congress, broke so many laws, it's unreal. Classified information, going in, going out, being served, in, like Gene just said, saved in a bathroom in Colorado. But what are we focusing on for the past few weeks? Benghazi again. Like, I get it. Benghazi was important. But will there be an indictment at the end of this? No. Will Hillary Clinton wind up in jail over Benghazi? Will anyone in the Obama administration lose their job over Benghazi? Or a single day's pay? Will they get suspended? Nothing's going to happen here. So I get it. Benghazi's important, but come on, man. Come on.
Which actually is a perfect segue, Russ, to talking before we play this interview with Roger Stone about his new book, The Clintons' War on Women. By the way, I did get you a copy of the book. It's coming next week. You're going to get to read all the salacious details, all the scandal, Russ, I couldn't believe he went there. He went there on everything. Everything from Bill's illegitimate African-American son to whether Chelsea is actually Bill and Hillary's daughter to a whole host of things. You're looking shocked. Apparently, there's a question as to whether
cue the X-Files theme.
Let me tell you something. You might want to, because this book, researched by Robert Morrill, is about 500 pages of what I just told you. But it all boils down to this. There are these issues in it where you really see, and you kind of touched on it. Bill did the deed, whether it was rape at Oxford or Monica Lewinsky or whatever you want to say. And then Hillary goes after them psychologically with the investigators. And it is, in some levels, is a conspiracy theorist dream. But it's coming from Roger Stone, who's been around for 40 years. And the man knows, like I said, where the bodies are buried, man.
Well, this just in, Roger Stone has been named an honorary member of the Brooklyn Republican Party Executive Committee. Welcome aboard, Mr. Stone.
Wow, all the way from Florida, too. That was pretty good. Well, listen, the man obviously has the trust of people like Donald Trump. He had the trust of people like Richard Nixon. I got to give the man the benefit of the doubt right now. You got to do it. And you know what? We're going to do it as we listen to this interview.
Plus, I mean, I didn't in the interview, I thought I heard a sneak preview. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I might have been a little inebriated. Is it true that he said that Hillary Clinton is a more manly version of Lindsey Graham?
He did not say that, but he did say far worse, like Hillary is a lifetime abuser of women, that she abuses people psychologically while Bill abuses people physically. That and more coming up after this break. Gene and Russ behind Enemy Lines. When we come back, we're going right into the interview with Roger Stone, author of not only the New York Times bestselling book about the case against LBJ for the assassination of JFK, but also the author of The Clintons' War on Women. We'll be talking about that book and more. Behind Enemy Lines, we'll be back right after this.
So what is Behind Enemy Lines anyway?
This is the true story of two friends living in the People's Republic of New York City who work together and have their conversations taped to find out what happens when conservatives stop being politically correct and start getting real. We are Behind Enemy Lines. Watch your wallets. Thursdays at 1 on WNJC, part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network.
I'm Vito.
And I'm Vito. And we're from WNJC's The Vito and Vito Show.
Every Friday at 1 p.m., you can hear Vito and Vito bring you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservatives who are committed to defending the principles of free markets, liberty, freedom, and individualism from Brooklyn, New York.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show. And check out our blog posts and articles at VitoandVito.com.
Vito and Vito Show every Friday, 1 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station. In Brooklyn,
it's nothing but the truth.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. FAST. That's F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, S, speech difficulty, T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org, brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air.
Gene Baradelli, back behind enemy lines, and on the line with me right now, I have the pleasure of speaking with the author of The Clintons' War on Women, probably the one person that I know of in politics that knows just about everything there is to know about politics. I'm talking about Roger Stone. Roger, thanks for coming on the line with us.
Gene, thanks for having me.
I gotta say, this book is probably the most explosive one, and of course I'm talking about The Clintons' War on Women. What gave you the idea to actually blow the lid off of the Clintons?
Well, Hillary's phoniness gets under my skin. The idea that she has ever been an advocate for women or children or girls and children is just completely bogus. In fact, she is a lifetime abuser of women. Well, she's an advocate for women as long as you're not one of those women unlucky enough to have been sexually assaulted by her red-faced husband. In which case you now become a target of Hillary and her wrath. First, she and her goons denounce you as a bimbo, a slut, a whore, trash. You see, in their view, it's the woman's fault when Bill assaults them sexually. And then, more importantly, she is the one, as I show in the book, who hires the heavy-handed private detectives who then wage a veritable terror campaign against Bill's victims in order to silence them. Put it another way, first Bill abuses them physically, then Hillary abuses them psychologically. And therefore, I think it's very important to show that the entire narrative, indeed the entire raison d'etre of her campaign is a fraud.
Yeah, and the book, you go through, along with Robert Morrow, who's helped you research it, you go through a whole litany of crimes and cover-ups. Now, I thought I knew all there was to know about Clinton cover-ups and scandals. But there are some things in here like Bill going to drug rehab, abandonment of an African-American son, the real identity of Chelsea Clinton's father. Oh, my goodness, Roger. The things in here that I've never heard mentioned, why hasn't it been mentioned before?
Well, it has been. All these things have been reported elsewhere, but they get suppressed by the mainstream media. So everything in my book is carefully documented, is carefully footnoted. I mean, I was on Fox 5 with Greg Kelly last week, who I like, but he was very much on offense, saying everything in this book has been discredited. It's all been disproved. No, Greg, not a word of it has been discredited. Not a word of it has been disproved. Let's take the example of Bill fathering an African-American boy, Danny Williams. Danny Williams is the product of a union of Bill Clinton and his mother, Bobby Ann Williams, who is, unfortunately was a cocaine-addicted prostitute. Danny Williams is no longer a boy. He's now a full-grown man with 5 children of his own. And Bill Clinton refuses to acknowledge his son, to hold him, to love him, to nurture him, to support him. The Star published a piece in 1999 saying that a DNA test disproved that Bill Clinton was the father of Danny Williams. That's a lie. The Star was owned at that time by a man named Robert Altman, who's a major donor to the Clintons, a major donor to the Clinton Foundation, and a friend of Bill. There is no DNA test. It does not exist. But it jumped from the Star, thanks to George Stephanopoulos, to the Washington Post, and Howie Kurtz of the Washington Post printed it as a fact. The truth of the matter is that the Reverend Say McIntosh, who was the minister for the Williams family, began badgering Governor Clinton in public, put out a press release, started following Clinton around in his collar with a sign demanding a blood test. And then suddenly, out of the blue, Reverend McIntosh's son, who was in the Arkansas State Penitentiary, and ineligible legally for pardon, got a full pardon, gets out of jail, and the good Reverend goes silent. Bobby Ann Williams, Danny's mother, described in great detail the exact floor plan of Bill's mother's home. And when asked, why do you insist that Bill Clinton is Danny's father? I mean, you were a prostitute. You presumably were seeing many men. She said, yes, but I was only seeing only one white guy, and that was Bill Clinton.
And listen, I appreciate you going into detail, but we don't want to give away too many details from the book. We want everybody to go out and buy this book because you're going to be shocked and amazed. Now, one thing I have to ask you, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask it, Roger. Is this book and the timing of it intended to go after Hillary Clinton as she is trying to be the commander-in-chief?
Let me put it in more favorable terms. This book is to expose her to the American electorate before they make an enormous mistake and elect this congenital liar and fraud president. Hillary Clinton is not the woman you see on TV. She's not some kindly grandmother. She's a foul-mouthed, short-tempered, volcanic, greedy, power-mad control freak. And this is proven over and over again in the book. She's a great actress, although I would argue that she's incapable of sounding sincere. She could be reading the breakfast menu and she would sound like she's lying. She's lying in front of the Benghazi Committee today. For example, as I reveal in the book, the whole idea that the attack on our mission in Benghazi was caused by an anti-Islamic video that showed one time on the internet in Turkey, that was invented by her hatchet man, her hitman, Sidney Blumenthal, who was on the payroll of the Clinton Foundation because the Obama people refused to put him on the federal payroll. But we have the email in which he told Hillary, here's what you say. Say it was caused by a video. This is all designed to get the Democrats and to get the Clintons and the Obamas through the next election, which, as you recall, was only weeks later. Hillary Clinton did not want to admit in the run-up of a presidential election that American interests abroad were attacked by a group affiliated with Al-Qaeda. So she and her quisling, Mr. Blumenthal, invented this lie about a video. And then, when told by American intelligence services at the highest level that was not true, that it was a precision military operation that attacked our Benghazi, not a mob, not a crowd, she continued to tell that lie. She looked the parents of 4 Americans who died in Benghazi in the face, and she told that lie again. So I think it's important for people to understand that it doesn't matter whether it's being under sniper fire in Bosnia, or whether it is misplacing the Whitewater billing records, or whether it is the disposition of her email server, and whether or not it had classified documents, or whether she was really named after Sir Edmund Hillary, or whether her parents were really immigrants. The woman is a congenital liar.
I definitely tend to believe everything that you're saying, mainly because the tactics that you talk about in your book are now being directed towards you and your book. I recently read a story in the New York Post detailing how there is a concerted effort by people associated with Hillary Clinton to stop people from looking at your book. Amazon getting all these 1-star reviews all at once, and they're all coming from a certain office on Pierpont Street in Brooklyn, right, Roger?
Absolutely true. This is why I need the help of your listeners, Gene. The Clintonites don't want this to become a New York Times bestseller because it makes it much harder for the mainstream media to ignore it if it does. So we have traced all these so-called negative 1-star reviews on Amazon to an IP address at the Clinton headquarters in Brooklyn. The ones that aren't from there are from an IP address at Media Matters for America, which is a front organization for a bunch of twisted freaks, panty-wearing fanboys of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, that is run by the well-known midget and former conservative David Brock. So, yes, the mainstream media is trying to suppress this book. I was supposed to be on MSNBC yesterday. They sent a car to pick me up. They canceled 45 minutes before my interview with some lame excuse about the segment being double booked. I called my contacts at MSNBC, which are quite good, and one of my friends checked in it, and he came back to me and he said, yes, corporate had pressure from the Clintons. This is Soviet-style censorship. So I asked your listeners, go to rogerstone.com or go to clintonswar.com, no apostrophe, clintonswar.com, either one. You can buy the book online. I need to make this a New York Times bestseller, not only because I want to recover my costs, because I have 2 years' work into the research and writing for this book, but also because I want to make it impossible for CNN and CBS and NBC to ignore.
Well, we're going to do our part for sure, because thanks to you and thanks to people at Skyhorse, we're going to be giving away a copy of the book to a lucky listener on next week's show. So we're going to make sure, Roger, we get the word out about the book 100%. I can't wait to pick it up and read it myself. I know that there's a copy in transit to me right now. It's going to be my train read for the next couple of weeks. Can't wait for it. Before I let you go, I do have to ask one question. Again, wouldn't be doing my job unless I was asking a question about your former client, Donald Trump. I just wanted to ask, not so much about your relationship with him, because that's all been done. I wanted to ask what you feel is your impression of him as far as if he is willing to listen to advisors going forward now. He's going to be transitioning now from first impression to developing a real operation, 50 states across the nation. Will he be able to be coachable, in your opinion, and be able to sustain the growth that he's put himself on the path to?
Well, first of all, let me say that my relationship with him is fine. I spoke to him today. I speak to him every couple days. We've been friends for 35 years, and I strongly support his campaign for president. I really do believe that only Trump can make America great again. Only Trump has the independence, financial independence, and the guts to take on the special interests. All these other candidates are funded by lobbyists and special interests and the Koch brothers and the super PACs. And Donald's right. All that money has strings on it. Donald Trump is nobody's man but yours. And that's really why I support him. Whether or not he can take advice remains to be seen. Look, without advice, he seems to be doing pretty darn well. He's leading, in every major state. There's a poll out today that shows that he has slipped behind Ben Carson by 1 point in Iowa. I'm not sure I believe it. It may be an outlier. But so far, so good. He is running an unconventional campaign. And frankly, I think it's one of the reasons why he struck a chord with voters. He is unscripted. He is uncoached. He is uncontrolled and uncontrollable. You can't buy Trump. You can't bully Trump. That's why, in my view, he's the only man that can save this country and the only candidate running this year, that I feel would take Hillary on. You got to get in her face. Does anyone think Marco Rubio is going to ask her the tough questions? Ask her about serial rape and the cover-ups that she has orchestrated? Ask her about Bill's drug use and why Hillary served as the lawyer for the biggest drug kingpin in the state of Arkansas, getting him a pardon from Bill Clinton? These questions need to be directly asked, and only Donald Trump has the gumption to ask them.
When it comes to these topics, Roger, you're the man I believe. You don't get to be where you are and 40 years of experience in national politics and presidential politics at that without developing a tremendous amount of credibility. Folks, go get this book, The Clintons' War on Women. Check out clintonswar.com, rogerstone.com. Roger Stone, you are the man. Thank you so much for doing this interview. Look forward to talking to you in the near future.
Thanks for having me.
And that was Roger Stone, author of The Clintons' War on Women. Russ, that was some explosive interview there.
Gene, terrific job. Really good get. Very interesting stuff. I have to say, Dick Cheney once shot a man in the face, and that man turned around and apologized to Dick Cheney. I don't want to draw a direct comparison here, but I remember early on in the Trump candidacy, there was some question as to whether or not Roger Stone resigned or was fired from the campaign. But either way, the two men remained friends, no matter which one of those versions are true. And he still fully supports Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is the man. I really do.
Well, I think Roger Stone is the man for, first of all, doing that interview with us. He didn't have to do this interview, and, this is a guy going on MSNBC and CNN, and, he's one of the go-to guys for a lot of networks. He came on our little show, and he gave us a lot of good... First of all,
I gotta ask
descriptions, though.
Well, the descriptions were great, Gene, but did I hear it correctly? Because for a second there, I thought maybe I fell asleep because I'm a little tired and dreamless.
What? You fell asleep? Come on.
No, the interview was great. I just want to make sure that I didn't mishear something that Mr. Stone said, because it was so...
not PC?
I want to say almost unbelievable. Something about a prostitute and Bill Clinton and an out-of-wedlock black kid that he might have.
Now, why is
around
that so
there.
unbelievable, by the way?
I mean, this is astonishing. Did I hear that correctly? That's all I'm asking you.
I think you did hear that correctly, and that's just one of many details.
I got to get this book now. I have to get this book.
I got it for you already, pal. It came in the mail. I'm going to give it to
you.
you, and you're going to read it. And next week, folks, after listening to the show on podcast, we're going to ask you a question next week about this interview, and you got a chance to win a copy of Roger Stone's book, The Clintons' War on Women. Available now where fine books are sold, including on Amazon.com. Go to clintonswar.com. And while we got you going to websites, we are at halftime here. Thanks for listening to Behind Enemy Lines Radio. I'm Gene, he's Russ. And while we got you listening, check out the official blog of this site. That's www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. Check us out on the Facebooks and the Twitters at BEL_radio. And congratulations, Russ, on breaking 1,000 Twitter followers, by the way. That's pretty good.
I'm about to delete a few of them. I want to get back on this.
And be sure to also check out the official website of the Brooklyn Young Republicans, the place where this show began, www.brooklynYRS.com.
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton
could...
Raping a woman in Oxford. Bill Clinton, illegitimate son, who happens to be African American as well. Bill Clinton... may not be Chelsea's father. So many different things that you can just get the book. Get the book, read it all for yourself. And by the way, everything is annotated, footnoted, and cited.
Poor Hillary.
What? You gotta be kidding. You're sounding a lot like the Reverend Al right now, folks. It's time for that break. When we come back, Russ and I are going to riff on some election 2016 stuff, some goings on in Congress. The big kiss goodbye that John Boehner gave to Barack Obama and the pass he gave to Paul Ryan. Whole bunch of other stuff, a lot of show to go. Gene and Russ, Behind Enemy Lines. We'll be back after some equal time with the Reverend Al.
The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
But resist we much. We must. They're all jitty about a shutdown. The tortoise in the race, then co-author of Hubris. U2 lead singer Bono, Fran Drescher, Sigourney Weaver, suspect Jahar Tsarnaev, Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh, the show Rush Lombard hosts Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Is Mike Muckery yesterday, Antonin Scalia. Kim Kardashian and the Republican candidates, both Cairo and Benghazi, we rank behind Lavita. First stop, Kazakhstan to college students in Beijing. He's getting lunch at Chipotle in Iowa. Bain is appropriate. The GOP's tax day giveaway to millionaires. Why was traffic problems email sent? The Environmental Projection Agency. And what sequestration has done.
But wait, there's more.
We all know I've had my share of prompter issues. And here's the president meeting with a cola cube. Republicans, Grinches, launching fistful of coal. Copies of the new issue of Charlie Hebdo. He also goes by the name Michael Zahabiba. 26-year-old Nina. Phone. Ray Romano. Honor David Letterman. He died of accidental asphyma. Al-Qaeda in Yemen. The start of school has been postponed several times. Massive manhood is underway. Who spoke at a white supremacist convention. You look at the hand you dealt with, there are not 60 Republicans after a historic when you hear of ISIS now waterboating. I'm all over the map on immigration. Did the New England Patriots cheat to get into the big game? NFL analyst and Hall of Fame player Troy Aikens, the writer slamming President Obama for talking with YouTube celebrities. What's the latest tonight in Iowa?
Well, in Ottawa.
And all we can get is an internet show? Let's get back to it.
Gene and Russ, back behind enemy lines. We're still recovering from that interview with Roger Stone. Definitely check out, as we said in the show, clintonswar.com. Check out stonezone.com, and Roger Stone is on the Twitters at Roger J. Stone Jr. Russ is still marveling over some of the allegations in the press release we got from that book. I mean, things from associations with known pedophiles and alleged rapes in Oxford and all these salacious details, Russ.
We'll have to do another show on all this. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole with you right now.
I'll tell you what. Well, next week when we give away the book, you'll have a little more of a grasp after I give it to you to read.
Let me read through
and I suggest everybody go out and read that book. But we got more business than just selling books, Russ.
Hold on, though. Before you go there, Gene, this just in, an APB has put out live breaking here on Behind Enemy Lines Radio.
I was with you the whole time. I didn't do it.
Where in the world is Mitch McConnell?
Where in the world?
Has anyone seen this man?
I haven't seen him in a while,
Has
actually.
He come on TV? Has he said a word about anything? You know the president, Barack Hussein Obama?
Yeah, I kind of heard of him.
He vetoed the Defense Authorization Act, the spending bill for the Defense Department.
And why did he do it, Russ?
There was like a couple of little provisions in there. Now, here's where I might get riled up. There's a couple of little provisions in there.
I gotta get another can.
That the president doesn't agree with. Like, I think that the Republicans in Congress put in there that he can't use any funds to release any more Gitmo detainees. Which, by the way, he's supposed to notify Congress before he does that, and he hasn't been doing that. Like the trade he made with the 5 Taliban commanders for Bo Bergdahl, a traitor who deserted his unit, which the president said he didn't, and then now it turns out that he did.
Walking arm in arm with his family, and it turns out that they are sympathizers with ISIS.
So why is it okay for the president to veto the defense bill? Veto the defense bill because he didn't get every single thing he wanted. But it's not okay for the Republican Party to not fund Planned Parenthood in a spending bill and push it up. Where do spending bills originate, Gene?
They originate in the House of Representatives.
So they don't originate over on Pennsylvania Avenue in the White House?
Absolutely not.
So where is Mitch McConnell? Where is that rat? That louse? Where is he?
We used to coin a phrase called leading from behind when it came to President Obama. I think that's kind of an apt phrase now for Mitch McConnell, don't you?
Where is John Boehner, that orange-skinned alcoholic, in my opinion?
I'll tell you exactly where he is. He is being Santa Claus as he is getting ready to leave as Speaker of the House because he's giving away everything. He's giving away the farm right now, Russ. I don't know if you saw the news recently, but it looks like we're going to give President Obama 2 years' worth of debt ceiling space to be able to finish out and round out his second term in office. Well, isn't that just dandy?
So the deal is exposed. Paul Ryan's demands were met.
Go and explain it to the audience step by step. Guys, tinfoil hats off, thinking caps on.
Paul Ryan trying to come in on the white horse. Don't forget, he was Mitt Romney's running mate, 2-time loser that he was. Got beat in a debate by Joe Biden. I'm talking about Paul Ryan here, folks. He's an open borders kind of a guy. And the only deal he wanted, don't believe the hype of what he was saying that he wanted to unify the party and all that crap. All he wanted to make sure was that he wouldn't get into the fight over whether or not to raise the debt limit, the debt ceiling. Because guess what, folks? In the past, he voted against it when he had to pretend like he was a Tea Party guy. But now that he's going to be Speaker, you see, that's a hot topic and a big issue. You can't be the Speaker when John Boehner's getting thrown out on his ass because he's not conservative enough, and then turn around and say you want to raise the debt ceiling. So what does Mr. Boehner do? He's punting these votes down the road long enough to make one last deal with Obama. We don't get the defense bill passed, but they're going to get the spending limit raised, the debt ceiling raised. And for those of you idiots out there, we got to talk about this real briefly, Gene, real brief. We won't go into default if we don't raise the debt ceiling. I don't understand why this is a big thing. I think that, listen to Mark Levin's show if you have any questions about this, and I believe it's in a couple of his books. He explains it brilliantly. The debt ceiling, we take in more money every month than we pay out in principal and interest on our debt. So the only way to go into default is to not pay those things down. So if we're taking in more in tax revenue than we're paying out in debt service, then there's no reason to go into default. What would happen is the Treasury Department would have to prioritize the spending, and certain things wouldn't get paid. As long as we prioritized debt servicing, we wouldn't default for years. But that would mean that other things wouldn't get funded. So if Congress cannot figure out what to cut, then the only way to cut them would be to stop raising the debt limit.
And it's kind of a powerful thing in symbol only. Because, listen, government's not going to shutter its doors. Social Security checks are still going to go out. All government services will continue. The only people who would really be hurt by a debt ceiling limit and no increase would probably be the cronies of government, which is the government bureaucracy. Maybe some of those checks would be paid, but that would be a way of culling the herd when it comes to an overbloated, oversized, out-of-control government. And that's kind of the bottom line here, Russ, is that, and you hit the nail on the head, this is a deal, and we see it a mile away. Paul Ryan gets cover, because now he doesn't have to make a big decision. He can still vote against it and maintain some conservative credibility, quote-unquote. I'm using Russ Gallow's air quotes right now. John Boehner gets the long kiss goodbye to all his detractors, and President Obama gets to round out his second term, maybe even do some things that can help out Hillary Clinton on the campaign trail, giving away more free stuff.
I'm going to tell you what I want, and it's too late, I guess, for us in the Congress.
It's never too late for another beer, Russ.
But I want a Newt Gingrich 1994 style contract with America. I want to know what these guys are promising to do in writing. Because what they say on the campaign trail, they obviously cannot be trusted. And, again, let me just state for the record, because I feel like I have to do this every show. If I had to pick a candidate right now for president, I would pick Ted Cruz. I think he's the best candidate. I think he's the smartest guy up there, and he's the most conservative. But I like Donald Trump more and more each day. And I've said this a few times, but it fits in nicely right here. For those of you like Republicans that aren't understanding this, more than 50% of the party, the primary voters of the party, are picking outsiders who are not involved in government. That should show you something. That we're tired of government insiders. We've tried it this way. We've elected the guys that the establishment has told us we should elect. What results have we gotten? How can we do worse? How can we do any worse with a guy like Donald Trump in office? How could we? How could we do worse? Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan is a huge gamble. This guy is, he looks like a kid, first of all. Looks aren't important. I get it. Whatever. You could say that if you want to. Where's his core? There's rumors that he's going to push the immigration issue down to 2017. Why in the world would he say something like that?
Especially when that's the number one polarizing issue. That's your wedge issue in 2016. If Donald Trump has done anything, he's proven that.
If a Republican wins the White House, and by the way, George Bush had Republicans. He did. He had Republican Congress for the first couple of years. What the hell did he do? Did he build a wall on the southern border? No. So George Bush has a whole host of issues of his own. So when George Bush is out there bashing guys like Ted Cruz or Donald Trump, Mr. Bush, I love you to death, but you need to stay quiet. I get it, your brother's in the race, I get all that. But the Bush family needs to just sit on the sidelines, take the high road like we've always said you've done, and stay out of this race. Because when you had the reins, you drove the car into the ditch. Really. I don't know if cars have reins. That was kind of a mixed metaphor there. But you get what I'm saying.
I was there with you. Cars and reins. Listen, it's been a while since I've been behind the wheel. I get what you're saying. But I think the point here is pretty clear. We've all said that this is the year of the outsider. We see that with who's leading in the polls. Carson, Donald Trump. We've seen Carly Fiorina up and down. We've seen Ted Cruz up and down. Ted Cruz, the only insider up in the polls. Why? Because he paints himself as a Washington outsider, talking about the Washington cartel.
Well, he's one of the few guys who actually stands up and fights. Will threaten to filibuster. Will threaten to vote against what the party wants. He's not owned by anyone.
And I think that's clear because none of the people who, quote-unquote, own anybody in the race has given him any money. But you know what? For me, the whole thing is just thinking of establishment Republicans running to their new best friends, moderate Democrats, for cover because the grassroots has gotten some balls lately. And they're starting to push an agenda. And the agenda is further right, read into that conservative and grassroots, than they want it to be. And I don't think that anybody in the grassroots is against compromise. But for God's sakes, can we get someone who actually knows the art of the deal? Can we get someone that understands that when you take an extreme position, Russ Gallo negotiation 101, if you will, when you take an extreme position, you'll end up getting more than you would if you cave earlier? Listen, in my law firm, if I ask for $25,000 for an injury that I know is worth $25,000, I won't be getting that. But if I ask for $75,000, I know I'm more likely to bring them up and me come down a little less every now and then. I might end up with $35,000. Point being, learn how to negotiate, Republicans. The establishment, you don't have to give away the store to be able to say that you accomplished something. And here's the other thing now. Now I'm getting off on a rant over here. Accomplishing something means real accomplishment. It does not mean passing another law for the sake of passing another law. And I think that's what we confuse real accomplishment, real credibility, with spin. And the spin is, look at all we did in the last term of Congress. Well, did you really have to do all that? I would have preferred you use your energies to make sure that you got more concessions from the White House in negotiating a debt ceiling deal than you did by passing another law, which, by the way, you couldn't get passed anyway. I'm looking right at you, Sanctuary Cities bill. Another example of where you could have negotiated better. It's an uproar right now in Congress, in my opinion, man. And you're right. Someone like a Donald Trump or even a Ben Carson or a Ted Cruz can set it right.
You said learn to negotiate, Gene. They also got to learn how to fight in Congress, okay? Let me talk about the Senate for a second and Mitch McConnell, that piece of garbage that we have in there leading the Senate. Does anyone remember how Obamacare actually got passed? Did it pass with 60 votes?
Oh, there was so much compromise there. It was a give and take. It was a dialogue. No, it wasn't. It was all Democrat votes.
All Democrat votes. But how could it pass, Gene, without 60 votes? There's a mystery for you. I thought every piece of legislation in the Senate basically has to get 60 votes to avoid a filibuster.
I think the leadership in the Senate sets that agenda, don't they, Russ?
Well, let me educate our listeners here.
Please do.
Here's a little piece of political science that went on in the Senate to show you the balllessness, and I don't know if I can say that anymore because I know we're on a bunch of different stations.
You could say balllessness. We're still allowed.
The balllessness of Mitch McConnell and the Republican leadership. Obamacare passed through reconciliation in the Senate. Well, what is reconciliation, one may ask? Reconciliation is the way certain budgetary items can get passed in the Senate without requiring 60 votes. It would require a simple majority of 51. Well, how do those things, who decides what goes through reconciliation, you might ask? So here's how that works. The leader of the Senate, in conjunction with the parliamentarian, decides which pieces of legislation or parts thereof can go through the reconciliation process and avoid being filibustered. So, the parliamentarian, who appoints the parliamentarian? The parliamentarian is actually appointed by the majority party in the Senate.
In this case, the ballless Republicans.
Yes, so I know I'm getting all wonky here, but here's the plan. Obamacare was passed under reconciliation. Obamacare should be able to be overturned through, I'll wait, Gene, guess, reconciliation. Okay, so now if the parliamentarian does not agree, guess who gets to fire the parliamentarian?
The ballless Republican leadership.
Correct. Fire the parliamentarian, appoint a new parliamentarian, consult that new parliamentarian, Obamacare go through reconciliation, overturn the damn thing. Overturn the damn thing. You all ran, including you, Mitch McConnell, you piece of trash, on saying you were going to overturn it. Well, the president will veto the bill. Okay, put it on his desk. Make him veto it.
Is that Russ Gallo or Rich Little with all these impressions over here?
Make him veto it. Why are we not putting these things on the desk? It's simple. The Democrats did it to us. Why would we not? And before anyone in the chat room, because I know we got a bunch of rhinos, kumbaya Republicans out there says, well, we got to take the high road. No, we don't. We got to learn how to fight. They did it to us through reconciliation. There's nothing wrong with it. Use the power we got and overturn this damn thing.
And you know what? NDAA may have been an example of people actually getting it a little bit, but I don't think they did because they didn't negotiate the concessions in spending before they sent it up there. So now Obama's going to make it look like, and this is all about great politics right now, Obama's going to make it look like the Republicans don't know what they're doing with the NDAA, but yet Obama got everything he wanted in the NDAA as far as concessions, and now he's trying to get more. Give it up for Obama and the Democrats on this, folks. They play the game like they're playing chess and we're playing checkers.
Gene, the secret is Obama didn't get what he wants in the NDAA. He got sequestration. That's what he wanted. Sequestration hurt which department or which funding item the hardest? It hurt the Defense Department. The Defense Department took the biggest hit through sequestration. We have yet to refund the Defense Department from all the cuts through sequestration. The military is in shambles right now. Shambles. And we have yet to fund them properly. We're funding the Defense Department through continuing resolutions. Use your head, people. You can't do long-range planning. Long-range strategic planning and development of weapon systems on continuing resolutions. You need budgets, yearly budgets, biannual budgets to do long-range planning. Obama doesn't want that, and the spineless Republicans in Congress. Ballless Republicans in Congress. Even if they wanted to negotiate, they don't know what they're doing. If Obama wants Planned Parenthood funding so bad, attach it to the NDAA. Attach it to it. You veto this bill, Mr. President. You're going to get your $500 million for Planned Parenthood. But you're going to fund the military for a year so they can get back into doing long-term planning. Put it on his desk and see what he does.
Which brings me to the news that came out recently this week about Planned Parenthood. Not to get you all riled up, Russ, but there's a new video out yet again from the Center for Medical Progress. But this one may be the smoking gun because there's a doctor from Planned Parenthood admitting that they perform partial birth abortions. That they actually put the baby in breech, they bring the baby out below the belly button, and then they cut the spinal cord while the baby is actually out of the womb. Really scary stuff. Go to Jeff Dunitz actually did a great article from Media Research Center on this. You may see the smoking gun coming up on the Planned Parenthood battle. And oh my God, if you were disgusted before, just wait, people.
I'm actually done with this topic too. Could it be, Gene, that we're the only two people that care about this? Is that possible?
Well, other people are writing about it, so I think there's maybe at least 3.
There's 435 members of the House and another 100 in the Senate. Not one of them cares? Not one of them cares?
Yeah. I mean, I sense your frustration.
We're going to elect Republicans so they could select their leadership that won't do a damn thing about this?
Maybe the leadership doesn't realize that social conservative issues are actually not ones you shy away from right now. This is probably the strongest presidential cycle for social conservative issues, like defunding Planned Parenthood, like a whole host of other issues, First Amendment rights, religious freedom rights. It's all there. It's a conservative's dream as far as what you can talk about in this cycle. So why shy away from it? I'm with you on that, Russ. We're heading towards the end of the show right now. But I know we haven't done Buffoon of the Week in a while. I don't know if you have one. I have one. You may want to go in with me on this one once you hear who it is.
Let's see.
Certain MSNBC anchor woman, or host of a show, I should say. Not really an anchor woman. We all know her. We love her. It takes a village to raise a family. Remember her. Melissa Harris Perry.
One of my favorites.
Talking about how the phrase hard worker is a new dog whistle when it comes to conservatives. Don't use the phrase hard worker in front of Melissa Harris Perry because hard work isn't really what we do, Russ, sitting here talking on the microphone, preparing for a show, doing hours of research. Well, me doing hours of research and putting a show together. No. That's not hard work.
Let the record reflect Gene woke me up about 2 minutes before the show.
Hard work is workers in a field during slavery. That's what we should be talking about. That's hard work. How dare you say that Paul Ryan's a hard worker? Don't say that to Melissa Harris Perry. Buffoon. What is wrong with you, woman? And yes, I said woman. What is wrong with your sensibilities? Not everything is political. Sometimes hard worker means hard worker. And let's start using the real words for the real meanings, not your twisted meanings. You got a warped brain there, lady. Buffoon. You joining me on that one or what?
I'm not going to join you on that one, but
I'm
with you on it, but we don't need a dog whistle for you, although with you it might fit there, Miss Perry, but we don't need a dog whistle.
Harris Perry, hyphenated.
Yeah, I don't believe in that crap. My buffoon is John Boehner. I got to throw him in there. Hopefully, very soon we won't have John Boehner kick around anymore. But one last time, I'm gonna throw him in the hat. The guy is a pure buffoon. He's $4 trillion. The debt we added to the debt under this guy's speakership, $4 trillion, and he's gonna add another couple before he leaves office. He's a disaster. He's destroyed the party. Destroyed America's faith in Republicans in Congress, and quite frankly, might have just cost us the White House with this buffoonish act. So that's my pick.
All right, folks, there you go. We're going to put the poll up on www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. I'm going to try it one more time. www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. You get to vote all next week. Come back next week. You got a shot to win Roger Stone's book. But until then, we're going to shut it down. Right, Russ?
Gene, please shut this down.
All right, folks, we are out of here.
Our position's been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A Rock Radio production. Copyright 2015. Back in 7 days. Out.
The leader in talk radio on the internet. Right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.